Over the years, I've noticed that weightlifters, people who get into the sport because they want to snatch and clean and jerk, get distracted by accessory lifts. There's this weird obsession with getting their squat and other strength lifts as high as possible. This, of course, is more common with men, beginner weightlifters, and especially powerlifters transitioning to weightlifting. I've coached several weightlifters who worry way too much about their strength numbers, their squat number in particular. So why do people care so much about their strength level when ultimately the goal should be on improving their snatch and clean and jerk? There are several reasons. People are proud about themselves when they're stronger than they need to be. Because of weightlifting's huge technical component, outsiders assume that weightlifting is mostly technical and weightlifters aren't that strong. A lot of weightlifters like to prove these people wrong by having big numbers in the strength lifts. People are praised by having a huge squat relative to their Olympic lifts. However, the more efficient lifter isn't respected as much, I noticed. To be honest, I have a hard time explaining why this is the case. For example, I feel a sense of shame for having a low strict press and push press relative to my jerk. If anything, I should be proud that I'm able to jerk massive weights despite this. But what I'm saying is, if I had a larger strict press, then I wouldn't feel as insecure. I remember the days of Average Bros on YouTube, seeing Pat Mendes and Rob Adell squat huge numbers relative to their Olympic lifts, and this was something to aspire to. It's like they had overpowered stats, with squatting strength being the coolest and most respected stat. In an RPG, why would you want to increase something lame like technique when you can just increase your strength stat to absurd levels? This is irrational, of course. We should respect lifters who are efficient. People shouldn't feel insecure if their strength numbers are lacking. A lifter should be proud to clean and jerk 180 kilos, even if their front squat is 195 kilos. For some reason, getting pinned in the clean is the most embarrassing thing you can do in weightlifting. For those of you who don't know, this is when you rack the bar in the clean, but can't stand up. Compared to all the strength lifts, the squat is the lift that is respected the most. It's like if you get pinned or you really struggle to stand up with a clean, then you failed as a weightlifter. You showed weightlifters are weak, which is a bad look for weightlifting. You failed to show the world that weightlifters have strong legs. People respect weightlifters who are able to stand out of cleans extremely quickly. But in my opinion, there needs to be a shift in opinion. We should respect lifters who are able to clean close to their best front squat. Efficiency should be respected more than pure squatting strength. This is what weightlifting is all about. It's not powerlifting. All my most viewed videos on YouTube are not Olympic lifts, but squats and pulls. Of course, you can say this is because the majority of my fans are not weightlifters, and squats and pulls are more relatable to them. But I see this in the weightlifting world too. Weightlifters love watching Marcin because he can squat over 400 kilos. People love watching Gabriel because he can stand up super fast out of cleans. And of course, everyone loves Klokov because he's ridiculously strong. People respect strong weightlifters. This is why Antrim Antropov is on the news every week. With the rise of social media and sharing your lifts to the online community, the squat has become more competitive in weightlifting, even though it's not in competition. There's plenty of videos of weightlifters squatting 300 kilos. You certainly didn't have that in the past, so now there's a bigger incentive for lifters to increase their strength numbers, to compete against and impress other weightlifters. With weightlifting, it's difficult to program and predict progress with the snatch and clean and jerk. There's so many factors involved. However, with strength movements, it's extremely straightforward and very easy to program. Intermediate lifters especially will get frustrated when they first hit a wall with progress. They struggle for months to add anything to their snatch and clean and jerk, and then come to the conclusion that they need to follow a squat cycle or follow small off because they're too weak. This is almost never the case. Of course, they follow small off or a similar program and their squat increases. This may actually lead to them getting PRs in the snatch and clean and jerk shortly after. However, this just ignores the issues with technique. If you increase your squat by 20 kilos, of course you're going to improve your snatch and clean and jerk. But the question is, by how much? Probably very little. Your efficiency decreases by using the increased strength as a band-aid to the real problem. Your snatch and clean and jerk sucks. Getting stronger can increase your potential to snatch and clean and jerk more weight. But this is useless if your snatch and clean and jerk barely improves and the ratio between your strength numbers and Olympic lifts increases. If you're a pure beginner, I actually think it's worth spending 100% of your time learning the snatch and clean and jerk for the first couple of weeks. Yes, 100% of your time working on technique, and not even bother progressively overloading the squat and pulls, and only using those exercises as a teaching tool for the classical lifts. As a beginner, it's important to learn to drop your ego and learn how to be a weightlifter. 100% of your effort should be put on the hardest part of weightlifting for beginners, which is technique. People will really struggle with this because of ego. People don't like the idea of lifting less than 40 kilos for the first month or two and feel the need to lift heavier weights. It may seem like an okay idea to work on strength while you're learning the Olympic lifts. Once you learn the Olympic lifts, you can then apply that strength to the two lifts. However, the problem with this is that it takes up time and energy. The more time you spend working on strength, the less time you have to work on the snatch and clean and jerk. So focusing almost entirely on the snatch and clean and jerk is a good idea because it forces you to be more efficient. If your back squat is 120 kilos as a beginner, you can get away with a lot of technical errors and snatch 50 kilos. However, the lifter who can squat 90 kilos and snatch 50 kilos is more likely to have developed better technique since they couldn't rely on pure strength. This is why women generally do better when learning weightlifting technique. Gaining strength in something like the squat and deadlift is very straightforward to becoming technically proficient in the snatch and clean and jerk. You're more likely to see a random powerlifter deadlifting 200 kilos in a gym than someone snatching 100 kilos. You can gradually add in strength work as you learn the Olympic lifts. Increasing strength is the easy part. Weightlifting technique is the hard part. It makes sense to focus more on the harder part of weightlifting. For intermediate and advanced weightlifters, the focus should be on equal stats. You can use ratios to identify your weaknesses. Remember, the ultimate goal of weightlifting should be to improve your snatch and clean and jerk.